students, today we are going to start a new chapter in the physical chemistry, that is the ionic equilibrium. So in the last lecture, that is in the last chapter, we completed chemical equilibrium. In this, the equilibrium that is established between the molecular reactions. But whereas in this ionic equilibrium, which is established between ionic reactions, Now here, in this ionic equilibrium, throughout the chapter, the solvent is water. Water is a polar liquid which is act as a universal solvent. So by default, the solvent is water. If you do not mention the solvent, still that is assumed to be the solvent water. Okay. Now in this ionic equilibrium, this is also known as acids, bases and salts. The name of the chapter, it is also known as acids, bases and salts. In this ionic equilibrium, it is the equilibrium that exists between the ionic reactions. Okay. Now here, ionic equilibrium is observed in the substances that undergoing ionization in the polar liquid like water. What are the substances that are undergo ionization in the polar solvent? Let's suppose ionic compounds or polar compounds. Ionic compounds, basically they possess oppositely charged ions, that is the cation and anion. When they dissolve in the solvent like water, they dissociate it into constituent ions. Okay. Now there will be a equilibrium established between the ionic reactions. Such equilibrium is known as ionic equilibrium. Let's suppose we have ionic compounds such as salts, such as acids and alkalis. When they are aqueous solutions, if we observe, there is a equilibrium established. Okay. Now here, how to classify the substances? Now here, classification of substances according to the electrical conductivity. We know substances are basically two types regarding the conductivity. What is the definition of a conductor? It is a medium which allows the current to pass through it is a conductor, and which do not allow the current to pass through it is a insulator or a bad conductor. Let's suppose we have best example diamond, plastic, okay, wood. These are the some example for non-conductors which are also known as a bad conductors or insulators. Number one. Number two, conductors which allow the current to pass through it. Example, metals and the mixture of metals which are known as alloys. Okay, acid solutions, alkali solutions, salt solutions, and one more important thing is the non-metal. Best example in non-metals, graphite. Diamond, graphite, both are the crystalline allotropic forms of carbon. Both are non-metals, but diamond is a bad conductor of electricity, while graphite is a good conductor of electricity. Okay. Now here, non-conductors, nothing but the insulators or bad conductors, just now I told you, which do not allow the current to pass through it. And number two, conductors, just now I told you the substances which allow the current to pass through it. Okay. In conductors we have to see metals, okay, alloys, acidic solutions, basic solutions, salt solutions. Okay. Now here, on the basis of the conducting unit, that means which species is responsible for conductivity in the given conductor, according to which there are two types of conductors. Number one, electronic conductors or metallic conductors. Number two, electrolytic conductors, simply we can say electrolytes. Metallic conductors or electronic conductors in which the conducting species are free movable electrons. If any species in which free electrons are available which serve for the conductivity. Best example, graphite. In graphite, what happens? Freely movable electrons, pi electrons will be present. In metals are also good conductor of electricity due to movable or mobile electrons. Okay. Now come to number two, ionic conductors or electrolytic conductors. In electrolytic conductors, the conducting species are ions, oppositely charged ions. Are you getting my point? When free movable ions are present in the conductor, such conductor is called electrolytic conductor. In these electrolytic conductors, the aqueous solution or in the molten state or liquid state solution is responsible for the conductivity in which free ions are available. Okay. Now come to example for electrolytes, acids, bases and salts, aqueous solutions. Okay. Now come to how many types of the electrolytes. Now depending upon the conducting power, that means degree of ionization of the electrolyte. Some electrolytes are largely responsible for conductivity, and some electrolytes are very small extent for the conduction. That means the degree of ionization of electrolyte. Based upon the degree of ionization of electrolytes, we have two types of electrolytes. Let's suppose number one is the strong electrolyte, number two weak electrolyte. What are the strong electrolytes? Strong electrolytes are those electrolytes which almost completely ionizes and they have high conducting power in the aqueous solution or molten state or liquid state. Best example, strong acids, strong bases and salts corresponding to acids and bases. The criteria here, degree of ionization or degree of dissociation. What is the degree of ionization? It is the number of moles dissociated per mole of the reactant, alpha. In generally we represent by the symbol known as alpha. If the alpha value is almost equal to 1, that means the degree of ionization or dissociation, if it is almost 100%, that means they completely dissociated at room temperature. Are you getting my point? So such electrolytes are called strong electrolytes, strong acid, hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, nitric acid, hydrogen bromide, hydrogen iodide. These are the strong acids. And strong alkalis, example alkali metal hydroxides. Except lithium hydroxide, remaining all other hydroxides of alkali metals are good or strong bases. Okay. And corresponding to the salts. When an acid combines with a base to form salt and water, we know. So the salts are also strong electrolytes. Okay. Now come to next category of electrolyte, that is the weak electrolyte. Weak electrolytes are those electrolytes which are very less extent, which undergo very less extent of ionization at room temperature. That means the extent of ionization is very less, or the ionization is very little bit, or partially they undergo ionization. Let's suppose we know organic acids, carboxylic acids. Let's suppose acetic acid, benzoic acid. We know organic acids are weaker acids as compared to the mineral acids. Even ammonia is a base. Okay, and also ammonia derivatives, that is the primary amine, secondary amines, they are also referred as a weak bases. They are also referred as a weak bases because the extent of ionization very less. They slightly undergo ionization. Okay, and their degree of dissociation is very less. That means the degree of ionization is almost to alpha value too smaller than the 1, very less as compared to the unity. Okay, now we have some examples. Weak acid, acetic acid, phosphoric acid, boric acid. Boric acid is also known as orthoboric acid, H3BO3, hydrogen fluoride, hydrogen cyanide, hydrogen sulfide. These are the some weak bases. And come to the ammonia, just now I told you, or ammonium hydroxide. Both are same. Ammonia is a gas. When it is compressed in the water, we will get ammonium hydroxide aqueous solution, and amines, ammonia derivatives. Okay, these are the weak electrolytes. Now come to the degree of dissociation of these weak electrolytes is almost, just now I told you, too smaller as compared to unity, that is the 1. Now there is a one question given here. Identify non-electrolyte, strong electrolyte and weak electrolyte in the following information. Now here In the given question, sodium hydroxide, just now I told you, alkali metal hydroxide, strong bases almost completely ionizes, so they are strong electrolyte. Even hydrochloric acid is also strong acid, that is strong electrolyte. NaCl is a salt, that is a strong electrolyte. Okay, so the first three are the strong electrolytes. Now come to urea. Do you know urea is a molecular compound, covalent compound? It do not undergo ionization. So molecular reactions in which molecules electrically neutral, that's why they do not conduct any current in the aqueous solution. That's why urea solution. Even in the question there is a sucrose, C12H22O11, and one more is there, glucose. These are the molecular compounds which do not undergo ionization. That's why they are non-electrolytes. Now come to sulfuric acid is a strong acid, so strong electrolyte. Phosphoric acid is a weak acid, weak electrolyte. HCN is a weak acid, weak electrolyte. Ammonium hydroxide is a weak base, weak electrolyte. KOH is a strong base because alkali metal hydroxide, it is a strong electrolyte. Now it is a carboxylic acid, propanoic acid. Compared to mineral acid, that is hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, nitric acid, these organic acids are considered to be the weaker acids as compared to inorganic acids. That's why weak acid. Now come to ammonium chloride is a salt, strong electrolyte. Nitric acid, just now I told you, strong acid, that is a strong electrolyte. Okay. Now next topic is what are the factors that affecting the degree of dissociation or degree of ionization, alpha. Now there are certain factors which governing the alpha value, that is the degree of dissociation or ionization. Number one, that is the nature of the electrolyte. Just now I told you nature of electrolyte. There are two types of electrolytes, strong electrolytes and weak electrolytes. Strong electrolytes are those electrolytes which almost 100% ionizable in the solution at room temperature. That means their alpha value almost 10 to equal to 1. Now come to weak electrolytes which are partially ionizable in aqueous solution at room temperature. The alpha value 2 smaller than 1. So the strong electrolytes alpha value almost equal to 1 and weak electrolytes alpha value smaller than 1. So that is the first governing factor, that is the nature of electrolyte. Now come to the second one is the nature of the solvent. This is very important. Just now I told you in the beginning, the solvent by default we consider water as a solvent, that is a universal solvent, because water has high dielectric constant. Dielectric constant is the ability of a solvent to ionize the given solute. The ability, the capacity of a solvent to dissolve the given compound. Okay, if the dielectric constant is very high, that means the solvent try to keep the constituent particles far away from each other. Are you getting my point? That means the solute undergo more ionization, more soluble in the given solvent. Okay. Now the dielectric constant value decreases, the solubility of a given compound also decreases, especially ionic compounds. Ionic compounds we know highly soluble in polar liquid like water. Are you getting my point? Why the ionic compounds are highly soluble in the polar solvent like water? Only because of its high dielectric constant. Okay, more polar. Now there are some solvents given here. Water given, heavy water is given, methanol is given, ethanol is given, and acetone is given, and their dielectric constant data is also given. The highest dielectric constant value corresponding to water. That's why in water there will be maximum conductance due to more ionization of the ionic compounds. Are you getting my point? So that's why the degree of dissociation value also depend upon the nature of the solvent. Okay. Now come to dilution. Now here strong electrolytes, the effect of dilution doesn't affect the strong electrolytes, because at room temperature strong electrolytes are almost 100% they exist in the ionic state, that is ionizable form. But come to weak electrolytes. In weak electrolytes what happens? The extent of ionization is very less. Let's suppose we have acetic acid. The ionization of acetic acid at room temperature is very small, very slow, because of its due to its weak electrolyte. That's why the extent of ionization is very less. But when we increase the volume by diluting or by decreasing the concentration, indirectly we are adding the water. What happens? Due to addition of more amount of solvent, that is water, the extent of ionization of weak electrolyte also increases. On infinity dilution, that means the concentration of the substance solution is almost tending to zero. That means the extent of ionization almost completed. That means even at infinity dilution also, a weak electrolyte can behave as a strong electrolyte because the alpha value almost approaches to unity. Okay, now it is even for weak electrolytes also, the alpha value tending to unity. That's why they are treated as a strong electrolytes. It can be explained with the help of Ostwald dilution law. We will discuss. Okay, according to Ostwald dilution law, the degree of dissociation of a electrolyte, especially weak electrolyte, because the Ostwald dilution law significant only for weak electrolytes, is inversely proportional to the square root of the concentration or directly proportional to the square root of the volume. We will discuss what is the Ostwald dilution law. Are you getting my point? Now, once again, on dilution, weak electrolytes, the extent of ionization increases, due to which degree of ionization alpha also increases. Okay. Now, regarding that, there is a one question. What is the question here? Which of the following has highest degree of dissociation? 4 options are given to you. 0.1 molar acetic acid, 0.01 molar acetic acid, 1 molar acetic acid, and 0.5 molar acetic acid. Remember, in all these options, the substance, that is the solute, is common, that is the acetic acid. Now what we have to observe? We have to see the molarity or molar concentration, because the alpha value inversely proportional to square root of concentration, where the concentration value will be very less. Option number 2, that is the 0.01 mole acetic acid. That means here, out of these 4 options, the second option has very dilute solution. That means in which the degree of dissociation will be very high. Are you getting my point? Suppose 0.1 molar acetic acid we have. What is the meaning of 0.1 molar acetic acid? That means 0.1 moles of acetic acid is present in 1 liter solution. Then what about the 1 mole of solute will be present in how many liters? That will be 10 liters. Now let's suppose 0.01 mole of molarity of acetic acid. What is the meaning of this? 0.01 moles acetic acid again present in the 1 liter. Then 1 mole of acetic acid will be present in 100 liter. Are you getting my point? That means just I am comparing option 1 and option 2. In between these two, which has high degree of ionization. Now in both the compounds, what I am equating number of moles. Now here the solvent is, that is the 10 liters. Here the solvent is 100 liters. That means 10 times more as compared to first one. That means as the dilution, that is the volume of the solvent increases, the extent of ionization increases. Are you getting my point? यहाँ एक आदमी है, एक आदमी को 10 लोग किलिंग कर रहा, मार रहा, वही एक आदमी को 100 लोग किलिंग कर रहा या मार रहा, तो कौन सा ऑप्शन में जल्दी वो आदमी मरने का चांस है? जब 100 लोग एक आदमी को मारे तो वो जल्दी मारने का चांसेस है. मारने का मतलब ये डिसोसिएट होना, मेरा मतलब, ठीक है. तो 0.01 जो सोल्यूशन है उसमें डिग्री ऑफ आयनाइजेशन ज्यादा है, बिकॉज द अमाउंट ऑफ सॉल्वेंट ज्यादा है पर मोल ऑफ सोल्यूट के लिए. सो दैट्स वाई. एंड रिमेनिंग option 3, option 4 also, if you see the number of moles, 1 mole is there 1 liter, 0.5 moles is there, 0.5 moles 1 liter is there, so 1 mole will be 2 liters. Out of 4 options, in the second option only the volume of solvent is very high, that's why the extent of ionization is very high. Are you getting my point? So degree of ionization is very high for option 2. Now come to temperature. Yes, this is also one of the important factor. Extent of ionization, that is the degree of ionization. Do you know ionization, dissociation, basically heat energy required, that is endothermic process. We know in the last chapter, that is the chemical equilibrium, Lee-Chatelier principle. In Lee-Chatelier principle, as the temperature increases in endothermic reaction, equilibrium favors in the forward direction. Yes, Equilibrium favors in the forward direction means more extent of ionization. More extent of ionization or dissociation means more alpha. More alpha means more degree of dissociation. That means as the temperature increases, the degree of ionization also increases, directly proportional. Are you getting my point? Now, one factor is there that is called common ion effect. This is a very important topic. Common ion effect we will discuss in later on classes, but in basically in the beginning the extent of ionization of that is the dissociation, degree of dissociation will also governing by the common ion effect. What is the common ion effect? Suppose we have a weak electrolyte. Basically we are saying weak, that means the extent of ionization is very less. Now in the presence of a strong electrolyte which having one ion common with the weak electrolyte, once again I am telling, weak electrolyte in the presence of a strong electrolyte, the ionization of a weak electrolyte decreases. Condition apply, both must have same ion common, whether it is cation or anion, no matter it is. So in the presence of a strong electrolyte, the ionization of a weak electrolyte further decreases due to presence of one common ion. We know, as per Le-Chatelier principle, increase in the concentration of the products, the equilibrium shift in reverse, that is the backward direction. That means if one of the ion is common, that means the product concentration increases. So that's why the equilibrium will favor in the reverse direction. When the equilibrium favors in the backward direction, that is the unionization, undissociation favorable. When undissociation favorable, that means alpha value decreases. That is the, because of common ion effect, the degree of ionization or dissociation alpha value, what happens? Decreases. Let's suppose we have one example here. Acetic acid, the extent of ionization of acetic acid, that is to give acetate ion and H plus ion. Okay. Now this is a weak electrolyte, basically the extent of ionization is very small. But in the presence of sodium acetate, if you observe, in the presence of sodium acetate, which also gives acetate ions and sodium ions. Okay. Now do you know sodium acetate is a salt, that is a strong electrolyte. Acetic acid is a weak acid, that is called weak electrolyte. Now in these two there is a one ion common, that is the acetate ion. So in both the option, in the both the electrolytes, acetate ion is common. So as per Le-Chatelier principle, increase in the concentration of the products, the equilibrium shift in backward direction, that is the reverse direction. That's why the acetic acid ionization further decreases, because ions are combining and they return back to the undissociated acetic acid molecule. That's why the degree of dissociation, nothing but alpha, decreases due to presence of common ion. Due to presence of what? Common ion. Okay. Now the next one is the Ostwald's dilution law. Just now I told you Ostwald dilution law. Basically this Ostwald dilution law is nothing but the application of the law of mass action to the weak electrolytes. The application of the law of mass action to the weak electrolyte is nothing but the Ostwald dilution law. Remember, this Ostwald dilution law only is significant for weak electrolytes. It is not applicable for strong electrolytes. Okay. Now here Ostwald dilution law. Now here let's suppose we are considering one binary electrolyte. That means the electrolyte which containing only one cation and one anion, that is 1:1 molar ratio. 1:1 molar ratio. Okay. Now here we have AB electrolyte which dissociates into A plus and B minus. We know in the last chapter, that is the chemical equilibrium, how to calculate the concentration at equilibrium. Okay. Now here AB gives A plus plus B minus. Suppose if I am taking the 1 mole in which alpha moles dissociated, that is the degree of dissociation. If 1 mole alpha mole dissociated, if you take the C moles, then how many moles will be dissociated? Obviously C alpha. So that's why if I am taking the C moles, if 1 mole alpha mole dissociated, if I am taking the C moles, then how many moles dissociated? C alpha moles dissociated. That's why what I am writing here, C minus C alpha moles dissociated, C alpha moles of cation and C alpha moles of anion will be formed. That is I am writing here. Okay, where alpha is the degree of dissociation or ionization. Are you getting my point? From here, from law of mass action, the product of the concentration of the products divided by the concentration of the reactant. Now the equilibrium constant, the product of the concentration of cation and anion whole divided by AB. Okay. Now what is the concentration of cation? C into alpha. Anion is C into alpha. Now AB, that is the reactant, C into 1 minus alpha. I am taking the common C. So C gets cancelled. C into alpha square by 1 minus alpha. This is the formula to calculate the ionization constant or equilibrium constant. Okay. What is the K? K is called dissociation constant or ionization constant. C is the initial concentration, that is the molarity of the electrolyte. Alpha is the degree of dissociation, ionization. Okay. Now suppose if the alpha value is too smaller as compared to unity, so in the denominator shall I neglect the alpha? That means instead of 1 minus alpha shall I use 1 because alpha too smaller as compared to 1. So in the denominator if I neglect the alpha, so here shall I write C into alpha square, which is the K. Are you getting my point? From here alpha square is equal to K by C. From here alpha is equal to under root of K by C. This is this one. Alpha is equal to under root of K by C. Are you getting my point? So this expression is very important expression regarding the weak electrolytes only. Regarding which electrolytes? Weak electrolytes only. Okay. Now come to alpha is equal to under root of K by C. What is the K? Dissociation constant, nothing but the equilibrium constant, which is a constant. So shall I write alpha inversely proportional to square root of concentration? Yes. Now the concentration nothing but number of moles upon volume of the solution. Now the number of moles, let's suppose 1 mole. So concentration and volume inversely proportional. So alpha directly proportional to square root of volume, alpha inversely proportional to square root of concentration. Just now I told you the effect of degree of dissociation on dilution. Okay. Now here when we should neglect the alpha in the denominator and when we should not neglect the alpha in the denominator, that is very, very, very important. Now here there are some approximations. The actual formula K not I am writing K is equal to C into alpha square by 1 minus alpha. Now this is actually, if you see this expression, it is a quadratic expression in the form of ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0, whose roots are x is equal to minus b plus or minus under root of b square minus 4ac by 2a. Actual process if you want to solve the alpha value. But what we are doing, we are taking some approximation. What is the approximation? If the alpha value less than 5%, this is the approximation. That means if the alpha value less than 0.05, if the alpha value less than 5%, that means 0.05, then in the denominator we can neglect the alpha value. If the alpha value greater than the 5%, we should not neglect the alpha. We have to consider the alpha in the denominator, and from that we have to calculate the alpha value with the help of the quadratic expression ax square plus bx plus c in terms of alpha. Here the root alpha value minus b plus or minus b square minus 4ac by 2a. This is very complicated problem because it is a quadratic expression. It is not that easy to solve. So first of all, what we have to do while solving this problem, first of all you neglect the alpha in the denominator as compared to unity and calculate the alpha. If the alpha value what you are calculating is less than 5%, that means your approximation is correct. If the alpha value is not less than 5%, if it is more than 5%, then again we have to recalculate the alpha with the help of the quadratic expression. Once again I am telling, this is very important. Most of the students, what they do, they simply neglect the alpha in the denominator. Okay, they don't know what is the exact alpha value. What I am saying, approximation. If the alpha value less than 5%, this is only approximation. Some student may say, sir, why you are taking only 5%, why should not say 6%, 7%? Only this is our assumption, approximation. Are you getting my point? If the alpha value less than 5%, our assumption is correct. Simply we can say k is equal to c into alpha square. From here alpha is equal to under root of k by c. This is very simple calculation of alpha when the alpha value less than 5%. If it is not less than 5%, once again I am telling that we have to calculate the alpha with the help of the quadratic equation. Okay. Now in ionic equilibrium, throughout the ionic equilibrium, what we have to calculate? Concentration of ions at equilibrium. Now this is a very important formula to calculate the concentration of ion at equilibrium, which is the C into alpha. That is, if you see this in this expression, what is the concentration of species at equilibrium? C alpha, C into alpha. What is the C? Initial concentration, that is the initial molarity of the electrolytic solution. What is the alpha? Degree of dissociation of electrolyte. Now here in this what happens? Now once we know the alpha, it is easy to calculate the concentration of ions at equilibrium. So but it is very important because molarity is given in the question, definitely concentration. Now alpha value we have to calculate. We have to see whether it is alpha less than 5% or greater than 5%. Okay. Now the K is nothing but the ionization constant or dissociation constant. In case of weak acid, we can say it is Ka, that is the acid dissociation constant. In case of weak bases, we can say it is a Kb, that is the base dissociation constant. In case of salt also, in salt what happens? Whether cation or anion in the solution get hydrolyzed by the water. Such phenomena is called hydrolysis of salt, salt hydrolysis. In the salt hydrolysis, what is the equilibrium constant we use? Degree of dissociation or ionization, that is the Kh, where Kh is called hydrolysis constant, where H is called degree of hydrolysis. Instead of alpha we use H, that is the degree of hydrolysis. Okay. Now here the dissociation constant of acid, that is the Ka, and base, that is the Kb, which are purely equilibrium constant values. We know the equilibrium constant value depend on temperature. That's why the Ka, Kb values also depending upon the temperature. Are you getting my point? Now Ostwald dilution law statement: the degree of dissociation of a weak electrolyte is inversely proportional to square root of its concentration. Just now I told you the degree of dissociation alpha is inversely proportional to square root of its concentration or directly proportional to square root of its volume. This is nothing but the statement of Ostwald's dilution law. The limitation of this Ostwald dilution law is that it is only valid for weak electrolytes. It is not applicable for strong electrolytes. This is the drawback of the limitation of the Ostwald dilution law. Are you getting my point? Now come to, there are two acids are given. How to relate the strength of acid 1 and acid 2? Are you getting my point? So the relative strength of acids we have to calculate with the help of their concentration, H positive ion concentration. Okay. Now the relative strength is equal to strength of first acid divided by strength of the second acid. How to calculate the strength of H positive ion? We know, just now I told you, at equilibrium any ion concentration will be equal to C into alpha. C into alpha. C is the molarity, alpha is the degree of dissociation of that particular electrolyte, that is the acid. Okay. Now we have two acids, HA1, the degree of the H plus ion concentration, let's suppose C1 into alpha, and second acid is C2 into alpha. Okay. Now the question, the relative strength, H plus ion concentration of first acid divided by second acid, that is the C1 alpha divided by C2 alpha. Are you getting my point? Now here, do you know alpha is equal to under root of Ka by C by approximation? Okay. Instead of alpha, if I write the under root of Ka by C, so by simplification you will get the under root of Ka1 C1 divided by under root of Ka2 C2. Suppose if both the acids have same concentration, let's suppose C1 C2 same, then the relative strength will be equal to square root of Ka1 divided by Ka2. Now come to, there are some problems given here. The electrolyte dissociation constant of two acids, that is the acetic acid given and formic acid given. Let's suppose we have acetic acid. Acetic acid equilibrium constant, that is the acid dissociation constant, is given how much? 1.8 into 10 raised to minus 5. Now one more acid is given here, that is the formic acid, whose dissociation constant, let's suppose Ka2, which is 2.1 into 10 raised to minus 4. Are you getting my pen? Now the question is the relative strength. Relative strength. The relative strength, just know what is the formula? Under root of Ka1C1 divided by Ka2C2. The concentration of the two acids are not given, so we can take the equal concentrations. Yes. So from here C1 C2 gets cancelled. So Ka1 divided by what? Ka2. Ka1 divided by what? Ka2. What is the Ka1 here given to you? 1.8 into 10 raised to minus 5 whole divided by 2.1 into 10 raised to minus 4. Are you getting my point? Now if you simplify this one, finally what I am writing 0.293. This is the ratio of the strength of the relative strength of the two acids. Are you getting my point? Now there is one more question is given. Find the H plus ion concentration. Find the H plus ion concentration of 0.4 molar weak acid HA at equilibrium. The acid dissociation constant value given 1 into 10 to the power of minus 5, and also find the degree of dissociation of the weak acid. Okay. Now here what is the concentration of acid given to you? 0.4 molar. 0.4 molar. Okay. What is the dissociation constant of acid is given? 1 into 10 to the power 1 into 10 raised to minus 5. Now here weak acid HA, how it dissociated? As a H plus and A minus. Are you getting my point? Now initially the concentration here C, here 0 0. So 1 mole, if alpha mole decomposes, from the C mole C alpha moles decomposes, so the remaining mole C into C alpha. Here the number of moles of H plus C alpha, number of moles of A minus also C into alpha. From here what is the degree of dissociation? C alpha into C alpha by C minus C alpha, C common. So C alpha square by 1 minus alpha. This is from the Ostwald dilution law. Are you getting my point? Now let's suppose we are assuming that alpha is 2 smaller as compared to 1. So alpha, let's suppose assumption. We don't know whether the alpha value greater than 5% or less than 5%. We are assuming. So Ka is equal to C alpha square. From which from the approximation we are calculating the alpha value. So alpha value will be equal to, what is the Ka value given to you here? Ka value given to you 10 raised to minus 5. What is the concentration given to you? 0.4. Are you getting my point? So it is 0.10 to the power of minus 4 by 4. So 10 to the power of minus 2 by 2. That means the alpha value will be equal to 0.5 into 10 raised to minus 2. 0.5 into 10 raised to minus 2. Shall I write this is 0.5 by 100, that is 0.5%. Now what I am saying you, here the alpha value, if it is less than 5%, then the approximation is correct. So our assumption is also correct, because alpha value will be 0.5% only, 0.5% only. Okay. So this is the calculation of what? Alpha value. Okay. After getting the alpha value, the next continuation, concentration of H plus ion. One more question is there. After getting the alpha value, calculate the equilibrium concentration of H plus ions. So H plus ion concentration will be equal to C into alpha. What is the C value given in the question? What is the C value? 0.4. So 0.4 into alpha, which is nothing but 0.5 by 100. 0.5 by 100. Are you getting my point? So the answer will be 2 into 10 raised to minus 3 moles per liter. This is the just now I told you this is a very important one. To calculate the H plus ion concentration or OH minus ion concentration at equilibrium, the formula will be C into alpha. Once we calculate the alpha, C will be given in the question. So we can easily find the concentration of ions at equilibrium. Now the question, calculate the degree of ionization of a pyridine in 0.1 mole solution. Now here pyridine is given to you. What is the formula of pyridine? C5H5N. Pyridine, we know it is an organic base. When it is dissolved in the water, what happens? Pyridine accepts the H plus ions from the water, so it will convert it into pyridinium ion, and it will generate the OH minus ions. It will produce what? OH minus ions. Now similarly, for instead of Ka, now we are using Kb because pyridine is a base. So C into alpha square by 1 minus alpha. Let's suppose alpha value too small as compared to unity. So Kb is equal to what? C into alpha square. Kb is equal to what? C into alpha square, from which alpha is equal to under root of Kb by C. What is the Kb value given in the question? 1.5 into 10 raised to minus 9. This is 1.5 into 10 raised to minus 9 whole divided by, what is the concentration of pyridine given? 0.1 molar. If you simplify this one, you will get 1.23 into 10 raised to minus 4. This is the degree of ionization of pyridine. Okay. Now the question is, find the degree of ionization of pyridine in the presence of 0.1 molar NaOH. This is very important because in the absence of NaOH, in the presence of NaOH, what happens? Now here again I am writing pyridine in water to give pyridinium ion and producing OH minus ions. NaOH, do you know NaOH is a strong base which is completely dissociated into Na plus and OH minus. Na plus and OH minus. Okay. Now here this is C0 remaining C alpha remaining C minus C alpha. Okay. Now what is the number of moles of NaOH given to you? 0.1 molar. So here initially 0. After complete dissociation, what happens? 0.1 moles Na plus, 0.1 moles OH minus produced. Now here in both the cases, if you see, the OH minus concentration is common. So that's why I am using here 0.1 plus, let's suppose 0.1 plus C into alpha. 0.1 plus C into alpha. Are you getting my point? Now here what I am doing, the Kb value, what I am writing, pyridinium ion concentration multiplied by OH minus ion concentration whole divided by pyridine concentration. I am not taking the water because water is a solvent. Okay. Now what is the Kb value here? 1.5 into, what is the Kb value? 1.5 into 10 raised to minus 9. Okay. Now pyridinium ion concentration is C alpha. Now OH minus ion concentration 0.1 into C alpha whole divided by pyridine concentration C minus C alpha. Here what happens? 1.5 into 10 raised to minus 9 will be equal to, here C alpha 0.1 plus C alpha whole divided by 1 minus alpha into C. So CC will be gets cancelled. Here alpha into 0.1 plus C alpha by 1 minus alpha. Now here if you solve this equation, you will get the final answer, alpha value 1.5 into 10 raised to minus 8. Here we have to use some approximation. In the denominator, alpha value almost to less than 1. So by approximation only we have to calculate the alpha value. By approximation only we have to calculate the alpha value. Are you getting my point? Now here in the numerator also 0.1 plus C into alpha, it is also assumed to be alpha value too small. So 0.1 in the denominator, 1 minus alpha is assumed to be 1. Are you getting my point? This is only approximation. Now come to next question is there similar to this question. here in this question what happens, there is a acetic acid is given to you, acetic acid. Now acetic acid, how it dissociated? As a acetate ions and H plus ions. Are you getting my point? Now here C 0 0, C minus C alpha, here C alpha, here C alpha. Directly I am writing the formula Ka is equal to C into alpha square by 1 minus alpha. Alpha 2 small than 1, so Ka is equal to C into alpha square. Are you getting my point? From here alpha is equal to under root of Ka by C. What is the Ka value given to you? 1.8 into 10 raised to minus 5 whole divided by concentration is given to you 0.02. 0.02. Shall write this is 18 into 10 raised to minus 6. Okay. Now divide by 2 into 10 raised to minus 2. Okay. Now here alpha value will be 9 into 10 raised to minus 4. Under root 9 will be 3. Under root 10 to the power minus 4 will be 10 to the power minus 2. That means 3%. The alpha value which we will get is 3%. That is it is only for pure acetic acid. Okay, that is the aqueous solution of acetic acid. Now the question is in the presence of sodium acetate. Sodium acetate. Okay. Now what is the formula of sodium acetate? CH3COO which is dissociated as a CH3COO minus plus Na plus. What is the concentration of sodium acetate given to you? 0.01. 0.01. That means 0.01 moles acetate ions and 0.01 moles of Na plus ions. Are you getting my point? Now here we have along with acetic acid sodium acetate is present. Now acetic acid how it dissociated as a acetate ions and H plus ions. Okay. What is the initial concentration of acetic acid given to you? 0.02. Let's suppose I am taking X moles decomposes, so X moles will be formed. Now here in both the cases there is a one ion common, that is the acetate ion. So now what I am doing here, I am adding the 0.01 moles to this X value. Okay, because common ion concentration should be same. Now here the equilibrium constant Kb is equal to acetate ion concentration multiplied by H plus ion concentration whole divided by acetic acid concentration. Yes or no? This is from law of mass action. Okay. Now the acetate ion concentration I am taking 0.01 plus X into X whole divided by what is the acetic acid? 0.02 minus X. Here X value is too small, so that's why here the X value is here too small, because acetic acid ionization decreases in the presence of strong electrolyte, that is the common ion effect. So instead of 0.01 plus X, shall I take 0.01 and 0.02 minus X, shall I take 0.02. What is the Ka value here given to you? That is 1.8 into 10 raised to minus 5 is equal to 0.01 into X whole divided by 0.02. Are you getting my point? From here X value will be 3.6 into 10 raised to minus 5. Now this is only X, not the degree of dissociation. Degree of dissociation alpha, number of moles dissociated by total number of moles initially taken. How many number of moles dissociated? X out of 0.02 moles. What is the value of X here? 3.6 into 10 raised to minus 5 divided by how much? 0.02. So finally the answer is 1.8 into 10 raised to minus 3. Now here what I want to say here is, in the presence of strong electrolyte, what is the degree of ionization? Now individual, if you see, the degree of ionization of acetic acid is how much? 3%. But in the presence of sodium acetate it is how much? 0.18 into 10 raised to minus 3. That means 0.18 into 10 raised to minus 2. That is only 0.18%. That means in the presence of strong electrolyte, the ionization of weak electrolyte decreases. That's why the degree of ionization is also decreases. This phenomena is known as a common ion effect.